Hey! Welcome to another Girls Frontline 2 video. Hope you are well. Official social media accounts of GFL2 have recently shown the skills and fixed key descriptions of Mechty. Let's see it. Mechty's basic attack, Bedtime Warmup. Targeted physical damage to an enemy based on 80% of Mechty's attack. Wow! They are showing the scaling now in the preview. That is actually nice. When in turbo mode, damage type is changed to corrosion, more stability damage, and get 1 confectance. The first tactical doll whose basic attack gets enhanced. I want to see more about turbo mode. Dreamquake, first active skill. Skill that can deal AoE corrosion damage to targeted enemy and other enemies within 1 tile of the target. Also, scales on 130% of Mechty's attack. Great damage scaling. If used in turbo mode, Mechty gets movement buff. It can also generate toxic mist. Does this mean she can inflict corrosion weakness on enemies? Let's read more of her skills. Dreamless Night, second active skill. Self-stability restore, debuff cleanse, apply Dream Guardian buff to herself and friendly dolls within 8 tiles for 2 turns. When used during in turbo mode, Mechty can use either Dreamquake skill or Bedtime Warmup immediately after using this skill. She gets 1 stack of sleep aid kit for 2 turns. A limited buff, huh? I wonder what it does. This skill is like her reset button without HP restore, but with an added buff she and other friendly dolls can utilize, while also allowing her to do an extra action. We will have to wait for Mechty's release to see what the Dream Guardian buff do. Dream Wonderland, Mechty's ultimate skill. Mechty deactivates patch mode and goes turbo mode for 3 turns. She also applies Nightmare Shroud buff to all friendly dolls and give Toxic Inundation debuff to the closest enemy. Another buff and debuff we will be looking forward to once Mechty comes out. I can already see the Dream Wonderland to be the first skill to use in the skill rotation, Dreamless Night as the second one, and then either Dreamquake or Bedtime Warmup as last. Let's see her passive skill. Mystery Nap, Mechty's passive skill. At the start of battle, enters patch mode and applies Nightmare form to all allied units. That's it? This has got to be the shortest passive skill description I have ever seen. One thing we know is that patch mode is the default stance of Mechty. We do not know yet if Nightmare form is either a buff or a debuff to all friendly dolls. Well, just gotta wait for her release to find out more of it. Let's check out her fixed keys then. Dream Fragment. After using the basic attack Bedtime Warmup, gains 1 random buff for 1 turn. A utility fixed key. Might come in handy if you are doing a buff build. Rest D well. If a pace weakness is exploited, applies Toxic Inundation to the target after the attack resolves. Pace weakness exploit build, here we go. Although I still want to know what Toxic Inundation does. Hopefully it is like Corrosive Infusion. Horror Movie Night. When using the active skill Dreamquake, applies Acid Corrosion for 2 turns before the attack resolves against large targets. The Acid Corrosion debuff is great because you don't have to deploy Nagan all the time now. The downside is, you can only use this fixed key against large targets, and not all bosses in this game are large targets, like Sextans and Creepy-Doll. Still, this fixed key is useful since you can bring Mechty in to take down those large targets. Quickly, so we can sleep. When using the active skill Dreamless Night, generates toxic mist tiles within 2 tiles around the nearest enemy for 2 turns. This is another way to open up a corrosion weakness of Mechty's enemies, making Klukai or Peritia deal more damage, assuming if that is what toxic mist does. What I do want to know is whether that nearest enemy also get the toxic mist tile. We will find out soon. Loser's Spirit. When using the basic attack Bedtime Warmup, cleanses 2 buffs from the target before the attack resolves. Ooh, a fixed key that actually gives a reason to make use of basic attack more. And not to mention, Mechty can easily cleanse 2 buffs from the enemy with this. Great fixed key in my opinion. Idler's Sofa Aura. When Mechty has 2 or more buffs, targeted damage taken is reduced by 20%. Hot damn! You pair this fixed key with Dream Fragment and Mechty will always have permanent 20% damage reduction against targeted damage. Another great fix key. Gaming time. Basic attack damage is increased by 20%. Insta use for Mechty. Basic attack build for Mechty it is. Based on what we have seen of Mechty's skills and fix keys, it seems like she is a buffer and a debuffer. I am not exactly sure if I will be pulling for her or not. I need more information, especially about Turbo Mode, Toxic Mist, Dream Guardian, Sleep Aid Kit, etc. terminologies. I like how she is also corrosion oriented, much like the same thing with Klukai, but leaning more into the support side. But I wonder how much of a good support Mechty is. Is she like Dushebune who can support everybody and make way for other corrosion dolls? Or is she specifically the duo for Klukai? You can make builds that revolve around giving Mechty more buffs and damage reduction, or be the buff cleanser and give 100,000 debuffs against her enemies. I still need to see more information about Mechty, especially her fortification, but we will have to wait for her release. She seems interesting, I have to admit. Hopefully, when we see the descriptions behind her buff and debuff terminologies and fortification, it can help us decide whether to use our collapse pieces and targeted access permissions for Mechty. Well, that will be all from me. I hope you enjoyed the Mechty overview. Are you going to recruit her or not? Find out in the next episode of your Girls Frontline 2. Thank you for hanging out, and I hope you will have a nice day. Later.